I believe that we need a policy framework in order to move into cultural preservation. And again, if you go back to my 1978 book, I had a whole chapter there, a whole section on inventory and documentation of cultural and heritage resources. I mean, those were, for me, at the time, very, very important. We do that documentation. Of course, much of that has been destroyed by the rebel war. But remember, I was making those pleas back in 1978. So even the idea of culture or heritage never showed up in any development plan until after 1980. The big National Development Plan of 74, 75 to 78, 79 does not even mention a single word on culture or heritage. It spoke about, there was a chapter on tourism, but nothing on culture. And I believe that we should connect the two in order to improve them. Even if we are looking for investments and so on, we need to connect the two. And I have an idea of heritage tourism or cultural tourism, so we connect the two. And in that wise, we do not need to simply follow what meets the eye. Oh, to develop tourism, we need hotels. Now we want 5-star hotels. Oh, this is several $1 million. We have to look for investors. I am not decrying that idea, but it's only one out of several elements. There are studies and studies and studies which show that people, at least in the United States, believe that in their old age, it is better for them to use their money rather than buying material things, but to gain experience. Like Kari was saying, those houses, again, that she mentioned, those 19th century Victorian wooden houses that are vanishing like nobody's business and so on. When people come to experience another culture as tourists, they want an experience different from what they already know. So I believe that if we had a policy framework, this does not need a lot of capital investment to invest in those old structures and bring them up to a modern standard, if you like, so that you can have internal plumbing. You don't want someone who is a tourist going out of the house to sit in a bucket, in the night. No. So a little bit of investment will upgrade that kind of facility as a tourist destination. And also when people come, there are studies and studies which show that they also want to experience your culture, the kind of food you eat. They want something different rather than what it is that they have been used to. So the policy framework for preservation, there is nothing to compare that. We need to preserve what we have, but we need a framework within which to do it. And that could be tied into this whole concept of heritage or cultural tourism. Even this Bonds Island, I raised the flag on Bonds Island in 1976 when I took 14 of my students to go and do a rehabilitation camp there for 2 weeks and published a report in the Africana Research Bulletin in 1976. I took Opala with me. In fact, he was not on my list. He came to beg me to take him. Yes, but once we had done all of that, then everybody saw Bonds Island and, oh yes, we should go and make it our own preserve and exclude people. So when we do all of these things, what we do in Sierra Leone is politics comes in. If it is a framework thing, it's going from government, and then, oh yes, you have this person, there is this crony. You leave the people who matter, who should be driving these policies, and then you bring in cronies because, oh, there is money to be made, and then you exclude people and go on. So that lack of national consciousness, greed, and selfishness, which is so pervasive in our society, is our undoing. It doesn't matter how much we talk. Like I say, I can give you lists and lists of publications I've made, and nobody's listening. When you open up something, then somebody appropriates it for themselves. So we really need a change of direction. And being a poor country, that direction, the government needs to recognize that this is all wrong and try to put a stop to those wrong practices, get the policies correct, get the right people in place, contact them wherever they are, and get them to lead it, not just because you want to pay back your political cronies. So yes, preservation, there is an enormous lot. There's an enormous amount still waiting there. We have to. And we need a new framework to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Abraham. And you've made a very salient point, such as this, the need for a policy framework and the need to preserve what we have already, like you said. We need to restore those that, that are slightly damaged, but we need to preserve what we have already. We need to create this national awareness. And because, like I said, there's lack of consciousness really, generally across when it comes to culture. Dr. Ismail Rashid, is there a danger that Sierra Leoneans tend to really underestimate the true significance of our culture?
Thank you very much, Madiu. In fact, that was the point that I wanted to start off with in terms of how we think about heritage and how we think about culture. And this reflects partly in terms of the way we Sierra Leoneans see ourselves, not only within Sierra Leone, but see ourselves within the world. I am very worried and sometimes sick and tired of Sierra Leoneans and outsiders thinking of Sierra Leone as a very poor, insignificant, and backward country. And I want to say two things. First is Sierra Leone has a rich historical and cultural heritage that speaks to the fact that historically we are not only a small country, but we're a small country with a very large history that comes out of not only our people's own endeavors as Sierra Leoneans from different ethnic groups with different histories, but also as Sierra Leoneans who are part of a population that has come from different parts of Africa to come and to contribute to the making of this country. So we're a small country, but we're a small country with a very big history. Second, the way we usually sort of think of Sierra Leone, either in terms of the resources that we have and also in terms of our cultural heritage. Our problem is not that we're not sort of a potentially wealthy country in terms of our resources. We're not only a potentially wealthy country in terms of heritage, but the way in which we have not been able to convert that particular heritage and those rich natural resources that we have into wealth, into infrastructure, into policies, as Dr. Abraham has said, in ways that make first and foremost, the lives of our people better. I am less concerned about tourism. I'm less concerned about outsiders coming to Sierra Leone to see us, to look at us, to enjoy our food. I'm primarily concerned with Sierra Leoneans, first and foremost, able to enjoy their patrimony. Patrimony in terms of what nature has endowed our country with. And second, patrimony in terms of the centuries and generations of what our people have labored to produce, that they have bequeathed to us as succeeding generations, and unfortunately we have not been able to utilize and to see very much. Partly because our gaze is outside, is we listen to, we pay more attention to, and we tend to cater to what outsiders say. So I'm going to say a couple of quick things and then make sure that I don't run out of my first my 4 minutes. First, I think that what Dr. Abraham said is very significant. The second attempt that was made at crafting a natural cultural policy failed woefully. I was one of the persons that was approached. I referred to Dr. Abraham's work that he had done on thinking of our cultural patrimony, and I said to the new APC government under that was being done within the framework of the Ministry of Tourism and Culture that was headed by one of our very good friends, in the Lutri. And I said, when I got the message, I said, one of the persons that should be contacted first should be Dr. Abraham. We already have a base of knowledge on which that could be worked. From what I understood, a lot of the people who came to set the tourism and cultural policy for Sierra Leone were outsiders who came with a framework of how tourism should be imagined, not from a Sierra Leonean point of view, from an outside point of view. So in terms of moving forward, we need to move from that. We need to realize that in Sierra Leone, we have a lot of resources. This is the country that started producing Western educated people a long time ago. We have a lot of educated Sierra Leoneans. And we have sort of a resource that could be long for. So the first thing is that the base of knowledge is there. People who are skilled are there. People who can contribute meaningfully into developing policy are there, both within and outside Sierra Leone. The second major point that I really wanted to say in terms of how we move forward, we do face a challenge between development and preserving our heritage. People want to live in functional communities. People want to live in functional cities, cities that serve and respond to imagined needs of Sierra Leoneans that are in conversation with other communities outside Sierra Leone, especially African communities, but are also in conversation with the world. Anybody who's traveled extensively through Sierra Leone knows Dr. Abraham has sort of pointed out, and as some of you are aware, that the war did a lot of havoc in terms of derailing or creating an environment where it was very difficult to plan and very difficult to get a clear picture of where we should go. And this is how I think that we need to go forward in terms of sort of thinking of the challenges. First, we need to think of how we organize our cities so that they're places where people can live, not only live, work, do business, but also enjoy the city and enjoy our communities. And they can only enjoy our communities not only in terms of the new things that our communities produce, but also the old things that are bequeathed to us. So a world-class city like Freetown, it's a potentially a world-class city like Freetown should not only reflect the heritage of over 200 years of history, but should also be a city where people old as well as young are able to see and function. Some of our challenges that are already going on, some of the stuff that has been done around Freetown is criminal. We turned leisure parks into markets. We abandon old buildings and destroy old buildings to put up buildings that are not functional. We clog up the city essentially because our political supporters feel that you can do everything in the city so that we don't have a sense of shared citizenship and shared responsibility. So I think that in terms of thinking about, in terms of developing policies that move us ahead, there must be a balance in terms of preserving that patrimony. Heritage is patrimony. It's national wealth. It's something that is both tangible and intangible in terms of wealth, and also creating a city that responds to new and current development. I'll stop at that point.
Thank you, Dr. Rashid. Yeah, you've made a very salient contribution there, talking about patrimony and the need for Sierra Leoneans to enjoy their culture. Culture has value, as well as the heritage, and all these things have value. And that part of that value must be derived. It means that people must enjoy what they have, they enjoy their culture, and the environment. And that, like you made reference to the point again about Sierra Leone being the Athens of West Africa, and as like we're talking about this, we're talking about the notion of a West African Athenian state. By then, it means we are referring to the major educational institutions in that country, like Fabe College, the Annie Walsh Memorial School, the Grammar School, the Methodist Boys High School, the Methodist High School. These are the grammar school. These are the foundation when we talk about Sierra Leone being Athens. So it means we